Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, as you know, we've already done one video kind of previewing what we thought was going to be coming out of the state legislature this year as it related to your Second Amendment rights. I've had an opportunity to view some of the agenda items from the Democrats in the House and the Senate, and I think we need to have an important discussion about the tricky nature of this year's legislative session. Okay, before we get rolling, you guys know the drill. If you like this video, go ahead and click the like button down below. If you want to stay up to date on issues related to your Second Amendment rights, especially through this legislative session, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. Click the little bell logo if you want to be notified when we post new videos. And most importantly, let's keep the comments and discussions coming. That's how we're going to make sure we get our videos out to more lawful and responsible gun owners like yourself. Okay, so listen, the legislative session got underway on January 10th, unlike last year in which our Capitol was surrounded by razor wire and National Guardsmen. This year the building is once again open to the public, but there won't be a lot to see because most of your legislators will be appearing via Zoom. Now, as we know, this year it's called a short legislative session. They alternate between short and long. This year is considered to be a short year, which means it's only a 60-day legislative session. That is not a lot of time for government to get anything done, as we all know. Now, I've had a chance to go through some of the talking points and big agenda items that the Democrats are proposing, and I want to express to you a little bit of concern I have based upon not what I'm reading, but what I'm not reading. Okay, well, our friends on the left have proposed a lot of bold legislation, and as again, we already know about some bills that are going to be coming through as it relates to gun control, and we will be doing a follow-up video as those bills are actually first introduced. However, the Democrats are also trying to tackle several other big issues. And in fact, according to their legislative agenda here that I have in front of me, this is what they're talking about. Number one, they want to take care of the payroll tax on long-term care. Now, as we know, there was a law that's going to go into effect that basically everyone has to pay into their own long-term health care program. It was met with quite a bit of disfavor. The legislature is trying to hit a pause on that because of the kickback that they're getting on this whole thing. I should say the fallout, more likely what they're getting from this pushback. And so they're going to be spending a lot of time trying to fix and stall that legislation. So that's one of the first things. Now, the other thing they want to talk about is police reform fixes, according to them. Now, as we know, there were several pieces of legislation that were passed the last couple of years that basically hogtied both hands of law enforcement behind their back. They weren't able to initiate certain types of contacts. They were not able to engage in certain types of pursuit. They were not able to even go to certain types of calls unless there was life or death kind of emergencies. Now, I do believe candidly that law enforcement may have misinterpreted or overinterpreted some of these statutes in a way of trying to show how stupid they were from a political standpoint, but I digress. But clearly the language, as so often is the case with the legislature, was very poorly drafted, and so the legislature wants to try to clear that up. Now, what else is on the deal? Well, in addition to the budget, and we do have a budget cycle this year, and that always is a problem, there is a huge surplus of money in the state coffers. Imagine that, because we don't pay enough taxes here. Well, obviously, the Republicans are talking about tax cuts because that's oftentimes what government does when they're taxing us to a surplus. Of course, the Democrats are talking about increasing spending, and that's going to turn into a big Donnybrook, and that is clearly one of the issues that the Democrats are very adamant about is increasing spending in certain social program areas. So there's a big fight that's going to happen in Olympia on that. Homelessness and housing. Okay, this is a huge issue, especially for those of us here in the Puget Sound region, especially for those of us in King County. And I think we can keep throwing money at this problem all we want, but I'm not certain that's ever going to solve it. But again, I digress. But clearly the homeless problem is a major issue. The crime and drug use that comes with it, the decrease in property value and property enjoyment and all of that, it is a horrific problem to have. And the legislature is going to once again attempt attempt to tackle that. Then, of course, we do have Governor Inslee, so we got to take more action on climate change. I think that there will be a huge push to mandate electric-only vehicles, similar to what the state of California has done. And for those of us who carefully follow Governor Inslee, we know that what you do is you follow Governor Newsom, and whatever he does, Governor Inslee will do somewhere between 6 to 12 months later. Now, the only piece of legislation last year as far as guns that came out was the ban on open carry. And I do believe that there would be a little bit of momentum again for further restrictions on carrying firearms at polling places, school districts. And we know that Kathy Curterer out of Bellevue, as well as another legislature out of Mill Creek, are both proposing that. But when I go through the legislature's proposed agenda and their talking points, here's what I don't see. What I don't see is all of the talk about gun control. Oh, that must be good news. They're not going to push for serious gun control this year. Au contraire. I think that actually what we're likely to see is a diversion tactic here, where we're going to spend a lot of time debating these points, and they're going to try to slip gun legislation through the back end, either by attaching it to some other type of bill or putting it somewhere where it's not going to be routinely spotted. So what do we all need to do? Here's the thing. It's a short legislative session. If we can get the people opposed to this legislation to get behind us right now to start demanding that amendments be made, that this be sent out to various committees, that this be more thoroughly studied. With a short session, what is likely to happen is that any type of restrictive, Second Amendment restrictive legislation is likely to die on the vine in committee. What do we need to do as lawful and responsible gun owners? Number one, we need to contact our legislators. I'm putting the link down below so that you can go look up who your legislator is. If you don't know who your state representative is, if you don't know who your state senator is, shame on you. You need to get to know that. And whether they are of a similar party to you or not, you need to communicate your thoughts and ideas to them in a constructive and positive way. That is representation and how it works. So I am begging all of you to contact your legislators today and let them know that you do not support this legislation. What else can you do? Well, just like what we talked about in our video on how can we change the Second Amendment debate forever, you need to go out and you need to educate people. So many people who vote for or are in favor of gun legislation don't understand the lack of effect of that gun legislation and have no knowledge whatsoever about how firearms even function. I believe that educating these gun grabbers and educating them more about the usefulness of the Second Amendment is going to change that Second Amendment debate. It's all of our job to do that as lawful and responsible gun owners. Listen, we're going to have some bills coming out probably in the next week, so we will be doing another video on this legislative session. If you have any questions in the meantime about this or anything related to your Second Amendment rights, don't ever hesitate to contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or of course you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Now let's remember, part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.